Welcome back to the dispatch. There's so much out there that we can talk about today. So much to talk about. We can talk about the Tim Geithner, Tom Daschle tax cheat thing that is going on, but that's a non-issue. These people, some of them have withdrawn their nominations. We can talk about what's happening with the stimulus package. We can talk about the fact that they're saying so many things are in the stimulus package that are not there, such as a dog park in Houston, Neal Bortz. There's so much things out there that we can talk about right now, but I think one of the burning issues that everyone is facing is who brought about this current economic crisis that we're in. And if you listen to the people on the far right of the political agenda, you hear them claiming that it was the Community Reinvestment Act, it was Bill Clinton, it was Acorn and other community groups, and it was also the fault of Barney Franks and Chris Dodd and all of these Democrats that just gathered together and decided they were going to destroy the country for no reason whatsoever. While the truth is, it's the greedy corporations and George Bush that did it. And it's easy, because if we say it's a Community Reinvestment Act that forced banks to go ahead and loan money to people who can't afford to repay the loans, these loans have been happening since Bill Clinton was in office. Okay? So how come all of a sudden, after 6 years of George Bush, these people can't pay these mortgages anymore? They must have been paying the mortgages, or we must have been foreclosing on them all along, unless you are depending on the same public education that you get up and deride every day, saying that it's dumbing down the population, to dumb down the population to the point where you can pull the wool over their eyes. Because the truth be told, the Community Reinvestment Act didn't say banks can go out and lend to people who don't have any job. The Community Reinvestment Act didn't say, hey, banks should lend $500,000 to someone who is working the minimum wage. No, sir. What the Community Reinvestment Act did was it allowed Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae to buy loans from banks that did not meet the rigorous standards that had been set before the Community Reinvestment Act. And when I talk about rigorous standards, we're talking about the fact that you had to have 20% down, you had to have been at your job for 2 years, you had to be able to show that you weren't spending all that you were earning, so you had some savings in the bank, you had to have a FICO score of 680 or above. All of that stuff was, the Community Reinvestment Act said, hey, there are people out there who are hardworking, who are making a little bit above the minimum wage, and these rigorous standards are locking them out of home ownership. So let's get these people into houses. It didn't say, hey, banks, don't do the due process that you need to do to ensure that the person you're lending money to has a job, to ensure that the amount that you're lending them is something they can pay back. When George Bush came to office, he came in with this agenda that, hey, there needs to be no regulation or no taxes on corporations. Corporations should just be allowed to run wild and do whatever they want to do, because they have the country's best interest at heart. They're going to do what's best for the country. The government is standing in their way. So for years, the Community Reinvestment Act worked like it should, because the government realized that what we need to do is it's a necessity that we regulate these bankers, we have good oversight, and we demand accountability. But with George Bush coming to office, and all of a sudden regulations are bad. We're taking away funds from the regulatory agencies. We are gouging out all of the strength out of regulations. We're hiring lawyers at the SEC, lawyers who know nothing about financial transactions and all of the intricacies and complications of what goes into derivatives and debt swap and all of this stuff. So all of a sudden now we're in a situation where the banks have the Community Reinvestment Act, which says, hey, you can relax your standards a little and loan to people who don't have as much money or as good a credit rating, and you take away all the oversight. So what do the banks start doing? First, they start lending to people more than they can afford. Okay? Now, when they ran out of people like that, they start lending to people who had a personal social security number. When they ran out of people like that, they start lending to people who had a tax ID number. And now everybody was getting in on it, because not only was the construction industry, the realtors getting in on it, the lawyers getting on it, the banks, the mortgage companies, the people who considered themselves real estate investors were getting in on it. The pension plans were getting in on it. Because, hey, why would you want to sit around investing in the stock market when you can buy a piece of property, put up a few houses, turn them around in 6 months, and make 3 times what you'd have made on the stock market? And everybody is getting into it now, and we're selling things called mortgage-backed securities, and everybody is becoming millionaires each time these things change hands, and companies are becoming billion-dollar companies because these mortgage-backed securities are being sold all over the world. People are being told they're backed by the government. They're not backed by the government, and now we need to make more loans so we can have more mortgage-backed securities so that we can make more money. But the thing is, when we look at it, we're running out of good people to loan money to, and we're running out of bad people to loan money to. And now the people who were very bad, that we knew weren't going to be able to pay these loans back, that we loaned money to, are defaulting on this loan. And the economy is crashing, and everybody's money is in it, and people are being laid off. And you lay off people here so they can't purchase anything at the store, and the manufacturers got to lay people off. And the more layoffs and the more people are losing their jobs, and the economy is crumbling around us, and all because we failed to put in the necessary oversight on these greedy bankers, because we said they were going to do what's best for the country, and they did not. So when we're talking about who is to blame for the current economic crisis, I am not talking to the idiots out there who are saying that, hey, the last 2 years that the Democrats had the control of Congress, they were the ones that destroyed the economy. Those are idiots. You don't even need to answer them. I'm talking to the people out there who are saying that the Community Reinvestment Act, along with Bill Clinton, Barney Frank, and all of those people, destroyed the economy. Stop telling that lie. The truth is, the greedy corporations who wanted to make profit at whatever cost it was to the country did this. And George Bush allowed it to happen when he failed to provide the necessary oversight, require the necessary accountability from these companies. And that is the cause of our current economic crisis. Tune in next time, because there's still a lot to talk about.